The ancient stones of the Vatican seemed to sweat with tension. It was the 7th of August, 2025. Inside the Apostolic Palace, Pope Leo XIV was dying. Each labored breath he took was a drumbeat marking the end of an era. Outside, St. Peter's Square was a sea of hushed whispers and flickering candlelight as the faithful gathered, their faces turned upwards towards the single illuminated window. In the corridors of power, cardinals moved like shadows, their scarlet robes a stark contrast to their pale, anxious faces. Just hours before, a document had leaked. It was a fragment, a rumor, a digital ghost that had escaped the secure servers of the Secretariat of State. The leak had electrified the Roman Curia and sent shockwaves through the global Catholic community. As the controversy over the leak reached a fever pitch, the Vatican did the unthinkable. It confirmed everything. At precisely noon, a formal announcement was made. The Holy See Press Office released the full text of an apostolic letter signed by Pope Leo XIV that very morning. The document, titled Custos Novi Aevi, Guardian of a New Age, was a formal decree that established a new, permanent office within the Church, the holy leader of a new era. This was not an administrative role. It was a purely spiritual title, imbued with a unique and personal authority derived directly from the Pope himself. The letter then named Cardinal Luis Antonio Cito Tagle as the first to hold this title. The Pope praised Tagle's pastor's heart, his humility, and his closeness to the poor and the marginalized. He was, in the Pope's words, the ideal man to embody a church that was less a fortress of doctrine and more a field hospital for a wounded world. The reaction from the College of Cardinals was not just one of shock, it was one of pure, unadulterated fury. Within hours, the Vatican's corridors buzzed with indignation. The cardinals saw this not as a pastoral provision, but as a coup. It was an attack on the sanctity of the conclave, a subversion of sacred tradition. Their response was swift and decisive. Under the leadership of the Dean of the College of Cardinals, a statement was drafted and released. While expressing prayers for the ailing Holy Father, the statement declared the apostolic letter to be of dubious canonical validity. It was a declaration of rebellion against a sitting pope. All eyes turned to Manila, where Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle was on a pastoral visit. He was thousands of miles away from the political storm raging in Rome, yet he was at its very center. Hounded by a swarm of reporters, he remained in seclusion for hours, praying. The world waited to see if he would accept this strange, unprecedented, and dangerous gift. When he finally emerged to speak, he did not do so from a grand cathedral. He spoke from the steps of a small, humble parish church in a poor neighborhood of Manila.
With fear and trembling and with a sense of my own unworthiness, I cannot refuse the Holy Father's request. I accept this new service not as a title of honor, but as a call to wash more feet, to be closer to the suffering, and to be a humble servant of the servants of God.
This dignified and pastoral response resonated powerfully with ordinary Catholics around the world, who saw in his words the very spirit that Pope Leo had sought to champion. The Church awoke to a frightening new dawn. For the first time in 600 years, the Catholic world had two living, recognized spiritual fathers. It was as if two suns had risen in the sky, one ancient and institutional, the other new and charismatic. On one side stood the Vatican establishment, the cardinals, the curial officials, the canon lawyers. They represented tradition, order, and the letter of the law. On the other side stood Cardinal Tagle and the vast coalition of reform-minded Catholics. They represented the spirit of the law, championing a church of the people. Every diocese, every parish, every Catholic family would be forced to choose. Who was the true spiritual guide? The Pope in Rome, with his legal authority, or the holy leader in the world, with his moral mandate? The Church, a body that has prized unity above all else for 2 millennia, was now fundamentally, structurally, and publicly divided. As Pope Leo XIV's life drew to its close, the institution he led stood on the precipice of an unknown future. The path forward was no longer a single road, but a fork with two diverging and dangerous routes. The immediate future hinges on two events: the death of Pope Leo and the conclave that will follow. The College of Cardinals is now more likely than ever to elect a hardline traditionalist. This would set up a titanic struggle. A new pope, armed with the full juridical power of his office, would face off against a beloved pastoral figure who commands immense popular support. The ultimate outcome may not be decided in the Sistine Chapel. it may be decided in the hearts and minds of ordinary Catholics. Pope Leo XIV's last gambit was a profound, perhaps reckless act of faith in the people of God. He believed they would recognize and follow a shepherd who smelled of the sheep. Whether that faith was well-placed or a catastrophic miscalculation is the great unanswered question. The Church is now at a historic crossroads, with two leaders pointing in different directions, and its billion followers must now choose which path to take. Please subscribe to our channel History Documentary Hub for more insightful videos and intriguing content.